Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders Current Events. I'm Dan Mirade, joined by Southwestern Connecticut's finest, Mr. Matt Degnan, as we kick back, reflect, review the results, the news, the views from the January 11th, 2021 edition of Monday Night Raw, which takes place on the 28th anniversary of the program. I remember being very disappointed that the culmination of the Primetime Wrestling series had come to an end on USA and was replaced by Raw, but look at the juggernaut that it became, that Primetime Wrestling was not. Matt, it is a pleasure to have you with us once again on what is a very busy week here in the world of Boston wrestling sports.
Well, another beautiful Raw to break down a little bit, which I not too interested to break down yet again, but excited to do it with you.
Well, thank you. I don't get that very often.
Oh, especially from Linda.
Correct.
Oh, boy. Do you want to do the plugs, or do you want to dive into it?
I think the wrestling fans are very smart. They're very hip to the blade. If they're fans of Boston wrestling, they know that for the less than the price of a cup of coffee down the street at Starbucks, they can get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk show series, access to the acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, all while helping keep wrestling legends working at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. It's going to be a great way to get more superstars in this studio in 2021. As a matter of fact, before you and I started this conversation, I was texting with someone interested in joining us in March here in studio. So that's something to look forward to. Is it
March
not?
is a great month.
Why is March a great month? Because of your birthday?
Yes, it is.
What
Less
a
than 2
mark.
months
I
away.
knew that was coming.
Yeah,
I
less
knew
than 2
that
months
was
away.
coming. Yeah. Well, start your shopping now, fans. In addition to that, if you want to help keep these great professional wrestling legends working and in the studio earning an income, the eBay store is open 24/7, baby, along with that WWE T-shirt fundraiser we have going on. The links can be found in the description box below. How about that for the cheap plugs? We've got a busy week ahead. Tuesday night, it is Tuesday night, right? My gosh. At the top of the hour, 10 p.m., we'll be joined by the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. He shoots on Sting, Kenny Omega, the AEW Impact Wrestling relationship, and more. Tomorrow night, we have Wrestling Insider Special Edition at 10 o'clock. We're joined by our friend Savio Vega, who discusses Bruiser Brody, wrestling in Puerto Rico, Japan, his early days in WWF as Kwang, Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji, early tag team main events he had against Lex Luger and our friend Tatanka. It's a very interesting episode, if I do say so myself. Then Thursday night, there's only one place to be. You know where that is. If you want that sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey through the 80s and 90s, it's time to party with Marty Jannetty as Marty takes a look at the 1989 WWF Royal Rumble, the superstars surrounding it. As usual, Marty goes very off course. We discuss Goldberg, the Madison Square Garden Classic from January 89, between the Rockers and the Brainbusters and much more. And then, of course, Friday, weather permitting, Friday night after SmackDown, when the lights in the Thunderdome go down, the one with that peace light up, baby, John Cena Sr., Fabulous Friday. He's trying to take the helicopter to be here live and in person this week. So we have 4 big talk shows for fans to enjoy. The first 3 that I mentioned are available now, again, with that early ad-free access at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Now, I believe we can move on to Raw.
Dive into this beautiful night that we call Monday Night Raw. As you said, the 28th year of it. Triple H kicked off Raw last night in the Thunderdome, which is a little bit different than the Hammerstein Ballroom 28 years ago.
For sure.
Yeah. He was quickly interrupted by Randy Orton. Orton and Triple H went back and forth on recent actions of Randy Orton beating up various legends and even setting people on fire. I believe these guys can still cut a good promo. Just imagine if guys on the roster can do things like this, talk up a segment and just talk up different angles and stuff like that. Scripted or not, not many guys can cut promos today or sell an angle with words, in my opinion. After they went back and forth, Orton then challenged Triple H to another match later in the night. He mentioned Stephanie McMahon, which Triple H didn't like, and then he sucker punched Randy Orton. And later in the night, he accepted that challenge against Randy Orton. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Not for a match, though.
He challenged him, but we'll
not
talk
for
about
a match.
Whatever it was.
It was for a fight.
Fight, match, same thing. Triple H, then he sucker punched Randy Orton. Then Orton got on the mic and said, I guess that is a yes. And then they went right to the announcers and they said, it's not accepted yet. So a little bit confusing on what was going on, whether it was going to be a fight, a match. Did he accept it? Did he not accept it? It was kind of confusing, but I think we all understood what was going to happen anyway. I thought it was a good opening segment to start the night off. A night that had many script changes and a lot of things moved around. I thought the opening segment set a good tone for the night, and then after that, the tone went right off the table. So, but overall, I think the first 10, 15 minutes of the show were good. What did you think of the opening of Monday Night Raw?
I liked the opening segment a lot. It was different. It was fresh. It wasn't the same people saying the same things over and over again. It's too bad there aren't more legends they could pull out of a hat to make things like that happen that could actually have a match or a quote-unquote fight like Triple H can in 2021. But nice opening to the show.
After this, we got our first matchup of the night where Lacey Evans defeated Charlotte Flair. Evans did have help, though, from Charlotte Flair's father, Ric Flair. The match felt a little off to me. Some of the action in the match was slow-moving and not really convincing to me. Some of it was okay, but for me, it almost felt like the match was in slow motion. I don't know if you think the same thing as me, but for some reason, this match just was very slow to me.
Well, the one thing I'll say about Lacey Evans, I think she's fantastic with the gimmick, but I think her actual in-ring body of work can be a little awkward sometimes, and that showed last night in the match with Charlotte.
Yeah, I think, that's another way to put it, is awkward. And I don't know how many times these two have been together wrestling, but it just kind of felt off the entire match. But I think, they're going to be wrestling a lot the next few weeks or few months or whatever with this whole thing they're doing with Ric Flair and Lacey Evans. Maybe they have a match at the Rumble. Maybe they have a match.
No, they don't need a match at the Rumble. They need to fill that female Rumble up. They don't need any singles matches.
Well, they're going to be in the Rumble anyway. I think both are already declared anyway.
Yeah, they're declared,
But, Ric Flair's going to pull Charlotte over that top rope in just a few weeks at the Rumble. You know that's happening. And then someone's going to eliminate Lacey Evans. They're going to have a face-off outside the ring and punch each other. Then the night after the Rumble, they're going to have their big blow-off match that everybody's going to be excited for. But we'll find out what happens.
You got it all figured out, Joe Scoops?
It's kind of predictable the way WWE goes and how they do their things, especially with the Rumble coming up and with Ric Flair lurking at ringside. You know he's pulling Charlotte over the top rope.
I don't see that happening, but you never know.
Well, he's going to be pulling someone over the top rope in that Rumble, whether it's Evans or Flair. But we'll find out. But what did you think of this matchup between these two blonde ladies?
Like I said, the Evans wrestling can be a little awkward, but as far as the storyline and the angle go, I love it. I thought it was great. I love the fact that the lady is all over the Nature Boy.
The lady. The next matchup of the night, Jackson Ryker defeated Jeff Hardy via roll-up. A fairly short match, so not much to it. But right after the match itself, Hardy challenged Elias to a match. Then in that match, Jeff Hardy defeated Elias for the classic 50-50 booking. Yet another fairly quick matchup between these two. This is a feud that I don't really care about, and they've been feuding for months, and it never really had a feel to it. It started over on SmackDown, then Elias got injured, and then they continued it over on Raw. And from the get-go, I really couldn't care about it, and even now it's just, even adding Jackson Ryker to it doesn't change much to it, but I don't know where they're going with this other than having them wrestle every single Monday night against each other, and they've thrown AJ Styles into this feud and almost into it, so I don't know what they're going to try to do with it. It involves nothing to my liking. But what did you think of both of these matchups?
Well, I thought it was a good way to try and get Ryker over as someone as importance, even with the roll-up pinfall on Jeff Hardy to get the victory that way. Showcased him a little bit, defeating a former world champion nonetheless. Elias, as I've said many times, he's, well-spoken when he prepares his songs, and I guess there's some people that find what he does amusing. I'm not one of them, but I can't think of one good Elias match I've seen during Elias's entire tenure in WWE, and that continued last night. The match was, I wouldn't call it bad, I'd just call it bland. There was no real, nothing to write home about, nothing memorable about it. Just kind of, I felt like I've seen it before, and we'll probably see it many times again.
And that's kind of what I had in my thoughts about the episode in it of itself, is just almost every single thing we saw last night was something we've seen at least 10, 15 times within the past few months. But as you said, I'm sure we're going to see it yet again for the next couple weeks / months. And the next matchup, something else we've seen for a while, Keith Lee and Sheamus defeated The Miz and John Morrison. It was a solid tag team match, kind of different, but all of these guys have been in various matches and different forms of matches against each other within the past few months, especially with Miz in that Money in the Bank briefcase while he's still lurking around. And then yet again, right after they teamed with each other, Keith Lee and Sheamus faced each other. In this match, Keith Lee defeated Sheamus for another good old 50-50 booking. Sheamus and Lee hugged after the match to smooth things over. A lot of people did double duty last night in terms of doing various segments, which I'll get into that when I grade the show. But what did you think about the tag team match and then the singles match that followed, which kind of seemed to drag on again?
I really had zero interest in both of them. The match itself was fine. The tag team match, I thought in the singles match, Lee had about enough as far as what he could physically do inside the squared circle. The man was exhausted. The man didn't certainly come across as a professional athlete, if I do say so myself. Not that I would if I was in there either, but I'm not being paid the money Keith Lee is to have professional wrestling matches. He looked very lethargic last night, and I was glad that they ended.
Should you step in the squared circle?
Maybe someday, before it's all said and done. I got one in me, brother.
You're not going to be like Goldberg and pop up every once in a while?
I don't need two a year, just one.
The next matchup, T-Bar defeated Xavier Woods. In this match, the announcers, this is probably the biggest headline coming out of this match was when the announcer said that Kofi Kingston will miss time with a broken jaw, which I don't know where all these broken jaws in wrestling are coming from. I think we've seen a handful of them just in the past couple months. I don't think I've seen this many in a short period of time, but Kofi Kingston's going to be out for a little bit.
It's almost like when Elmira Gulch falls off the bicycle.
Well, I don't know how to ride a bike, actually.
You don't know how to ride a bicycle, really?
I've never been on a bicycle before. I just
Wow.
never had the need or desire.
That's very unique. Most kids, they at least attempt it at some point.
I never attempted, and
You didn't want to risk ruining your socks by putting them on the pedals.
no.
All right, well, now we
didn't need
figured
to
out
do
the
that.
mystery.
Yeah. But what did you think of T-Bar and Xavier Woods?
Well, it looks like it's going to be job duty for Xavier Woods for a while. For him to lose to T-Bar, who could have very well been his very first win in WWE for all we know, considering how many losses Retribution has compared to wins. T-Bar didn't look that bad. I think Xavier did a good job carrying him. He looked somewhat impressive as a monster in there, so I think maybe the singles route may be the way to go for T-Bar, especially where he is a man of size, so to speak. I don't understand why they had the need to have 5 people in T-Bar's corner. I can understand Mustafa Ali to some degree, but to have Reckoning and the other guys under masks, what WWE official would authorize having so many men in one man's corner? I didn't understand it. All Xavier Woods had was a trombone.
Yeah, T-Bar, he does have a victory over Ricochet a couple weeks ago.
Well,
but
he's
other
heating
than
up
that-
then. He's heating up.
Yeah.
He could be my odds-on favorite to win the Royal Rumble.
He has to declare, though.
Well, they'll have to let Ali do that. I don't know.
The next matchup of the night, Bobby Lashley defeated Riddle to retain the United States title. This was one of the few feuds I was actually interested in until they milked it dry within a few weeks. I have very little interest in this now. They put on solid matches, don't get me wrong, but just no fire in the storyline anymore. One of those things, I know we talked about it before, this was one of the few things that both of us were somewhat interested in WWE, and then they ended up doing this match about 3 weeks in a row. They've been doing Lashley and Riddle this feud for a few months. They were building it up nicely, keeping them away from each other. Then they started throwing them into tag team matches. Then they've been doing singles matches, and to me, it's lost its fire from the beginning of when it started. I was actually interested in it, and now it's kind of just bland to me. But what did you think about Lashley and Riddle?
I disagree a little bit. I felt like when they were out there, it seemed like they were competing with each other for a purpose. Again, it's been done to death. It's been seen. There was nothing really new. I like Riddle's body of work from bell to bell and nothing else, from his entrance to his promos to his flip-flops to everything that he does. Lashley looked dominant again, as he should, which made last week's loss all the more confusing to me, because the man should not be losing, as obviously he's being groomed for something of great importance. To have Riddle tap for him several times now to that full Nelson. Jeff Hardy did as well. So I'm anxious to see what WrestleMania season holds for Bobby Lashley. There was no need for the loss last week, but I didn't think it was a bad match this week. It was just one I felt like I'd seen repeatedly.
Yeah, but that's what I said. They put on solid matches. It's bland, like you said. You know, you've seen it before. You've seen it a million times. So it kind of just loses its pizzazz.
Yeah, a little pizzazz.
Yeah. The next matchup of the night, a big one. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeated Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke for about the 8th week in a row. I mean, I don't know how many times.
It's a hell of a tag team division.
I mean, they have these two teams face each other every single week, whether it's Shayna versus Mandy, Shayna versus Dana, Nia versus those two, whatever it is. There's always a different type of match between these two teams, whether it's tag team or singles. And again, as I said before, just another match or segment that we've seen over and over and over again. And that's part of the reason why I keep giving Raw low grades. It's the same thing every week, nothing new. nothing really to look forward to. Maybe they do one or two things a week that get you a little bit interested, but nothing really ends up happening in the end. Like that whole thing with Randy Orton and the match, nothing really happened there. But we'll talk about Randy Orton now, unless you have anything to add to that hellacious women's tag team
I
match.
was glad that it wasn't very long. I've seen enough of all four of them. If none of the four ever graced my television screen again, I would not shed a tear. They contribute absolutely nothing to my enjoyment of Monday Night Raw.
So back to Randy Orton and Triple H now. They faced off in the main event of Raw, but didn't really have a match. They just brawled.
You skipped one.
What did I skip?
AJ Styles and Drew Gulak.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to add that in. Well, AJ Styles, he defeated Drew Gulak, I believe. I forgot to add that one in. I was so
He
excited.
did. Drew was going for a Royal Rumble spot, I believe.
Good luck. But
He didn't get it, but
Yeah.
that was the intent, if nothing else.
I was so excited for my favorite wrestler of all time, Triple H, to wrestle. I kind of didn't really care about Drew Gulak, who
You forgot about that. All right. Well, I'll forgive you this time.
yeah, because it was such a big spot. I need to be forgiven to put it in the script with all the other things that nobody really cares about.
You can say that again.
Well, back to Triple H and Randy Orton, even though we got sidetracked by the hellacious matchup between Styles and Gulak that I am already forgetting in my mind. They faced off in the main event of Raw, but it wasn't really a match. They just brawled a little until the lights went out and Triple H disappeared. Alexa Bliss then appeared in the corner after the lights came back on and blew a fireball into Randy Orton's face. That is how the show ended, believe it or not, and another ending that I really don't care about. They never followed up Randy Orton holding that match at the end of the show from 2 weeks ago. I don't know what they're trying to do with Bliss. I hope to anything, my lucky stars, that they're not going to do Bliss and Randy Orton in a match at the Rumble, because I know they're supposed to be doing Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt in one of those Firefly Funhouse matches. I just hope they don't lead up to Bliss and Orton doing a Firefly Funhouse match. But I was excited to see Triple H and Randy Orton, even if it wasn't going to be a match, at least get physical with
fight.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a fight. And they brawled for all of about not even 2 minutes until they had Alexa Bliss stand in the corner in her 5-year-old outfit, blow a fireball in Randy's face. And then you had Tom Phillips going, I think Randy Orton's blind, which I thought was kind of stupid. And I said to myself, that was a moment where I think they should have just turned off the announcers' microphones, because sometimes they take away from segments and don't really add to it. They don't sell it. They just scream, oh my God, he's blind. And they don't sell it. It's kind of in that fake voice where it doesn't really seem real in the moment. But another main event segment that went okay, and then it just went to horrible when they had Alexa Bliss blow the fireball. Then I bet they're going to have Randy Orton come out next week and not have any bandages over his eyes, and he'll probably wrestle again next week or even at the Royal Rumble. If I were them, I would sell that fireball for a few weeks, whatever it's going to be. But now you can't have Orton be out a few weeks because Drew McIntyre has COVID. So it's not like you can have Orton out a few weeks.
Sure you can. Sure you can.
Oh, yeah, and we'll have, AJ Styles doing 3 matches, Lashley and Riddle in 2 matches. You can have them out, but unless you fill time otherwise, you're just going to see more people in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 segments throughout the night, which I would not do. It would only take away from the show. It would be a good thing to do if you had more people and not that many people COVID positive and injured and all that type of stuff. But Randy Orton was originally supposed to face Drew McIntyre in the main event until they announced earlier in the day that McIntyre was COVID positive. So he'll be out for possibly about 2 weeks. So if all goes right, he'll be ready for the Rumble to face Goldberg in his 5-minute match. Not really excited about that. So whatever. But we wish Drew McIntyre well in his COVID journey right now. He said he's asymptomatic, which is that good, I guess. I mean,
Yes, that is considered good.
no, I know it's good,
Oh,
but
all
I
right.
mean,
I thought you were asking.
are you really sick if you're asymptomatic? But I'm not going to get into the whole COVID thing right now. But that's, as you say, a different story for a different time. But a main event segment that never really had fire to begin with. A little bit for like a minute until the lights went out, and then I kind of knew what was happening after that. And then you saw Alexa standing in the corner, and then when she did that fireball, ugh.
She thought she was Ed Faha back at Cobo Hall in Detroit, the original Sheik, throwing
That's exactly
fireballs
what
at
I'm talking
Bobo
about.
Brazil back in the 60s.
That's actually the first thing that came to my mind last night at about
Little Ed
10:55.
Faha, yeah.
What did you think of this main event segment that was fiery?
It was different. It was memorable. I thought it was kind of funny that Triple H's sledgehammer just lit on fire for no reason. What more can you say? I mean, you really don't know what direction they're going in it. I don't think anyone really believes that Randy Orton is blind, but I guess we'll have to see what happens next week. Maybe they'll take a page out of WrestleMania 7 with Jake Roberts and Rick Martel and have a blindfold match at a Royal Rumble between Randy and Bray Wyatt to try and continue the feud between the two of them headed into WrestleMania. I'd like to see maybe if Bray isn't in the cards for Drew McIntyre, maybe Triple H against The Fiend at WrestleMania. That would be a match that would interest me.
Well, kind of depends on how the build goes.
Yeah. Well, they'll have to run it by you first then.
No, well,
See what
they
you
never
and your
give-
socks think.
Yeah, they never give us a call, but maybe they listen to the show with all the other glorious fans in the live premiere chat right now. As we move
Like
into
Lawson.
Yeah. And as we move into our grades right now, you guys can leave them in the premiere chat to the side if you're listening live. And if you're listening to it after, you can leave it below the video under the description. I gave Raw this week a 3 out of 10 yet again.
Whoa.
You literally said the show wasn't that good either. What are you going to do, give it a 4? You always say, whoa, when I give mine, and it's usually 1 or 2 higher, so it's usually not much higher than that. Unless you gave it like a 7, I can't see it being much different. A lot of double duty last night with people being in 3, 4, 5, 6 segments throughout the night. Nothing exciting about the show, just another bland Monday where it's stuff we've seen yet again and again and again. The in-ring work wasn't as great as we've seen in the past couple weeks. You know, usually the in-ring work will kind of save the show a little bit. The storyline work wasn't that exciting for me or made me want more. Wasn't much positive about I believe the only positive thing about last night was Drew McIntyre's COVID test, in my opinion. But, I mean, but what did you grade Raw?
I actually gave it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, boy. I don't know how, but...
Well, because it felt like I was watching something a little different, from Triple H to the Lacey Evans and Ric Flair dynamic, which I think is fantastic. They tried with Jackson Riker. I don't see it really going anywhere long term, but you never know. Xavier Woods did a good job trying to get T-Bar over. If you were going to throw Drew Gulak in a match, at least they tried to make it seem like the match had some relevance to it with the Royal Rumble spot on the line. And even though the ending of the show was kind of hokey, you know, I liked the mixed involvement with Triple H and the sledgehammer on fire and Bliss turning into the original Sheik. And like you said, the commentary would have been better off silent completely. But, you know, it held my interest. There weren't too many times I wanted to change the channel other than the women's tag team match. Well, then again, no, the Morrison and Miz one, I had about enough of that too. But there were only a couple of points during the show I really didn't dislike it. So 6 is almost halfway there, just a little more because it just felt a little different.
I don't know how, but... Do you want to guess the viewership for last night?
Oh, boy. 1.7.
1,820,000.
Well,
which last week was 300,000 more at 2.1 million. The third hour last night dropped 400,000 from about 2 million to about 1.6 million. So, I mean, for going up against college football championship game, 1.82 is not too bad considering the football game did almost 20 million viewers. So, again, a drop, but I didn't think it would be a 1.8. So, again, not great for WWE standards, but when you compare it to other regular TV shows on the USA Network and other various channels, it's pretty good. So, but we'll find out what
It could have
happened.
been worse, I guess maybe
It
is
could
the
have been-
best way to put it.
Yeah.
Just like the show itself. It wasn't great, but it could have been worse.
You always say it could have been worse, and then the next week it does get worse.
Well, it's a good thing the ratings to the TV show aren't aligned with your ratings for the show, or they'd really be in trouble.
Well, just because the people are watching doesn't mean they like it.
All right. Well, the fans have wanted to know, where have you been during these live premieres lately? They've been missing you.
I don't know how much they're missing me, but
Well,
they're
if you were
missing
there, maybe you'd know.
I don't know how much they're missing me then.
Have you been in hiding? I mean, are you having private Facebook discussions with Maria Davis that I don't know about?
Well, she's my Instagram pal. but
Instagram pal, I apologize.
she only chatted me a few weeks ago, so she hasn't chatted me much. I don't know.
She's been
about
busy
you.
with the Steelers, but I think she's going to have a little more free time coming up.
Well, the Browns made sure of that. Oh, boy.
But well, you are Mr. in the premieres. The fans would like to have you with us. I don't know what else to say. They ask me, and I have no answers to give them because you ignore me when I ask.
Well, there's stuff going on, and
What do you got going on? The fans want to know.
there's a lot of sports games that are on.
You can multitask.
Well, sometimes I get too caught up in the game and I forget about the chat.
You get caught up? All right, well. At least
know-
you're not going to have college football to worry about for a while. At least there's that.
I'm not a big fan of college football.
But what has been distracting you on these weeknight shows then?
Well, college football's on Saturdays anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, that explains the SmackDown review show then. But what is it?
Yeah.
Is it hoops? What is it? What is the distraction?
Well, Gonzaga usually plays on Thursdays and Saturdays. I don't know why they always play on Thursdays, but that seems to be the case for them. And I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know. There's always college basketball on, which I like. When your college basketball team is the top team in the country, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, as a man that enjoys sports as well, like I said, there are times I have 2 tabs open on the computer, believe it or not. I cannot let our great fans down that want to interact and engage during these premieres, or else why have the premiere? They wanted to talk to you about your various thoughts about the world of the king of sports, professional wrestling.
Well, I'll see how much I'll miss tonight.
All right, well, maybe you'll pop in
I'll pop in.
undercover.
It'll be like the fireball last night from Alexa Bliss. Coming like a fiery blaze.
Hopefully nothing like that happens to anyone's computers, because we need them to continue to tune in to all of the great programming we have this week, fans. Again, not only do you get Tony Atlas at the top of the hour tonight at 10 p.m., but he's going to be L-I-V-E live this Friday night, right before SmackDown goes on the air. Tony Atlas is back in studio. Who knows what he'll be eating? Who knows what he'll be drawing? God only knows what he'll be talking about. But it'll be a fun night nonetheless. Will we see you this weekend?
Tony B. Atlas, TBA.
Tony B. Atlas, A Little Impact. What's their show called?
Hard to Kill.
Hard to Kill. There you go.
They live that gimmick.
They've been living that since 2002. So hopefully we'll be having that, the Hard to Kill watch along. Hopefully it won't be hard to watch.
It might be unbearable to watch.
You never know. But that's what makes it so much fun. All right, Mr. Sarko, I've given you enough ball breaking for the time being. I know Kramer needs your attention right now. Wrestling fans, again, don't forget, for the early ad-free access, along with the studio shoot interview DVDs, along with being able to keep professional wrestling legends working, there's only one place to be. Join our growing family for less than the cost of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Starbucks doesn't need the help the wrestling legends do. Over at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. A lot of great content, some revamped perks coming your way. We're going to be talking about that soon. For my Connecticut partner in crime, Mr. Degnan, I am Dan Mirade. We'll see you at 10 p.m. for Wrestling Insiders at your house. Give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to the channel if you don't. It is free. And please share the links on social media. Let's get some new eyeballs, some new friends in the world of Boston wrestling. See you at 10. On Friday, January the 12th, 1990, the World Wrestling Federation was sold out at the Wharton Fieldhouse in Moline, Illinois. The opening contest, Earthquake beat Paul Roma. Tugboat with the win over Frenchie Martin. Hercules defeated Tom Stone. Sapphire victorious over Slick, who replaced Dusty Rhodes versus the Big Boss Man due to the Big Boss Man being injured. The Bushwhackers beat the Bolsheviks. Model Rick Martel with the win over Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And in the main event, it was WWF Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, retaining the title over Dino Bravo. If you were in Moline Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out our eBay store and WWE t-shirt fundraisers. Links in the description box below so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling and keep legends working. Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.